Hello artists, and welcome to day 85 of the epic journey. I have been absent for a couple of days because, as you know, I was doing the drawing workshop and it's kind of thrown the epic journey out a little bit, but we are back on track as of today. So if you remember the last video that we did, I was talking about the different ways that you can sort of measure your drawing. We had many episodes ago, we had talked about the gridding method and I gave you a brief introduction as to a couple of other methods. Today we're going to be talking about the sighting method in a lot more detail. So artists, the one thing that you've got to remember when you're working with sighting is that your radius has got to remain constant. So your arm must stay straight, your pencil must stay vertical or horizontal. You can move your wrist to get your horizontal and your vertical measurements and relatively measure one measurement to the other. But a nice way to keep it on track is to keep your ear on your shoulder, to close your right eye, if of course you are right-handed. If you're left-handed, you're going to do it the other way around. But you're going to keep your arm out, keep your ear on your shoulder, close your eye, and you've now got a direct line of sight, and that won't change as you move. Also, it won't change this way as you move. It's a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit undignified, but it really works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the computer. We're going to do a little bit of a simulated exercise as to how sighting would work. Alright artists, the first thing that we've got to talk about with sighting is the line of your pencil, where your thumb goes. In the example on the left hand side, we can see that the thumb is lower down than the index finger. Now this is going to create some problems possibly because this little piece of pencil here is going to confuse you possibly. So the better way to do it is the example on the right here, where your thumb is actually the top line of your sight. You don't want to move your thumb down below your finger because it really can cause some confusions. So keep your thumb above your finger when you're sighting so that your thumbnail becomes your point of reference, so to speak. Now there is another thing that I like to do with sighting, and that is to actually draw little lines on my pencil. Now this is a huge help in the sense that you can now use that as your unit of measurement. So just little spaces along your pencil, doesn't really matter what the distance is, as long as it's sort of equidistant. And then you can start using these little lines instead of your thumb. So it doesn't really matter where your fingers are positioned, but this becomes, you know, that distance there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So you know that is 5 times whatever the little measurement is that you've got on your pencil. And again, the measurement is not important. Folks, I want to stress to you that this is all about proportions. We're not measuring anything in this in terms of our drawing. So let's put sighting into use. We're going to pretend now that we're sitting outdoors. We've got our model position where we want her to be, and we've got our drawing board up, and we're going to start plotting out our drawing from life. Now I'm going to use the example with little marks on my pencil because I really like the way that one works. It's just so much more simple than trying to gauge the long distance of your pencil just with your thumbnail. So in this example we can see here that we've got 5 spaces from the top of her head to her chin. But what is also so nice about the sighting using little marks on the pencils, we can also see that here we reach the top of her brow, and this second mark down we reach in the top of her hairline, you know, the base of the area that we can see of her hair. So we can also, with doing one sighting from top of the head to chin, we can also do little sightings in between. Now by simply moving your hand down the pencil, and we've got more marks here, we can see that we've got 6 spaces here that represents her elbow. So we've got from top of her head to chin is 5 spaces, from the bottom of her chin to her elbow we've got 6 spaces. So it's all relative distances. We don't really mind what those distances are. They're relative one to the other. So now what we're going to do is, once we've got our vertical sighting, we now move on to our horizontal sighting. Now here we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and nearly 7. We've got just under 7 spaces from the most extreme right hand side to the most extreme left hand side of her torso, which is the curvature there of her breast. So on our paper we can do our vertical lines there to show extreme left and right. We've already put the top and the chin and maybe even the other little bits and pieces that we discovered. So we're starting to get vertical and horizontal measurements, and at this point We haven't put any detail yet. We're literally just plotting out where our model's position is in space. You see, now we can start getting a little bit more detailed now, because we've got our tops and our bottoms and our left and our right. So we can start getting a little bit more detailed. Here we can position our pencil horizontally. Now remember, from the top of the head to the base of the chin was 5 measurements. So we can see from the extent of her arm to the left hand side of her face, we've got 5 measurements as well, and 2 of those measurements are taken up by the shoulder. So we can see from the outside of her arm to the inside of her face here, we've got 2 measurements, so the width of her face here is 3 measurements. So now we're going to put this into practice. I've just changed the color of my pen here, and we're going to mark the top of our head. Let's put the top of the head roughly, I'm just going to do it on the extreme left hand side. Top of our head's roughly there, the bottom of our head roughly there. Now notice that I'm doing it a lot bigger than what it is in the photograph. Now this kind of sighting would be something that you would do when you're working from life, so scale is not an issue at this point. You're visually going to be comparing one measurement to another. It's a relative ratio of measurements. So we've plotted the top of our head and we've plotted the chin. Now we can see here that 2 marks down is going to be the top of the hairline. So I need to now divide this vertical into 5 spaces. So I'm just going to go ahead and plot in 5 little equidistant marks. Now this is sort of visual, folks, and this is the next step from gridding. Let's change the color of our pen. So we know now that that's going to be the top of the head. 2 marks down is going to be the top of the hair, the brow line, and the chin line. Okay, so the blue marks are the marks that are going to be important to us. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing horizontally. Now I'm going to start on the extreme left hand side. Let's get rid of that circle. I'm going to start on the extreme left hand side. Doesn't matter which way you start, but you're going to do exactly the same thing. You want to put in your extreme. That's where the side of the face is going to, well, in this case it'll be lining up with her arm, so to speak. And now we want to go to the extreme other side, but we want to now plot in 5 little points, because we're going to be working in a bit of a square, just to make sure that our proportions are relatively easily laid out for us. So we're going to do the similar thing here. We're going to mark in 5 little equidistant marks. And we can see now this is going to be the line, which is equivalent to where her shoulder is, and 2 marks in is going to be the side of her face, and then the other 3 marks is going to be the width of her face. But we can also see here that approximately 1 more line in is where that hair is falling. So we can come in here and we can say, okay, roughly speaking, that's where the hairline is. Well, it's going to come down a lot lower, but roughly speaking, that's where the hair is going to fall. So now we can actually start doing our drawing. Now, for the ease of you guys seeing it, I'm going to change the color of my pen. So we know that this is the top of her head, and we know that down here is her chin, and we know that on this line is her brow, and we can start roughly putting in the line of the face. Now I'm certainly not doing this terribly carefully, first of all because I'm working on the computer. Okay, so once we've got in those basics, we can now really start thinking about detail. Okay, folks, I'm not going to carry on with it. This was just a demonstration to show you how to do your sighting and the little trick about marking little marks on your pencil. It's not about doing a drawing accurately, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it on the computer. But I think you get the idea. Sighting, remember, is not about scale. Sighting is about relative proportions. Okay, artists, so now I think you might have a little bit of a better idea of how sighting works. Sighting is a really good way to transfer your model or your landscape, whatever it is that you're looking at, onto your piece of paper or onto your canvas without a heck of a lot of effort. There's not all that measuring involved. So artists, I hope you've enjoyed this little more in-depth look at sighting. I think the little trick of drawing lines on your pencils, I just use a black marker and mark off my pencil in equidistant lines. I think that's a really nice little trick because it helps you to gauge measurement a little bit more accurately. It kind of takes the guesswork out of it. So artists, if you've enjoyed this video, please will you like and share. Remember that today we're back on track again. The drawing workshop is out of the way, so we're going to be back on track now, and we're going to be looking tomorrow in day 86 at the measurement method, how you're going to measure your distances. And then we're going to actually work with a hard copy, and we're going to draw lines all over it. So please join us again tomorrow for a more in-depth look on the measurement method. In the meantime, if you will like and share this video, I will be very glad. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow in day 86. Thanks for joining me. Bye. That's what you want to do.